guys, welcome back to A Page in the Chapter, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Paige and today we are doing an end of the year TBR. I've had a haircut. I am unsure how I feel about it right now. It is curled, so I'm just trying to remember that it looks shorter than it is because I've curled it. But yes, please refrain from commenting unless you're going to comment nice things, please, because I'm really nervous about the really short hair. Anyway, today's video is just going to be a little like TBR for myself, that all of these books I want to have read by like New Year's Day of next year, technically. I guess basically I have some books here and I really need to get them read within the year of 2022, by the end of the year. And so I'm making this video so I can kind of look back on it, hold myself accountable. I have like a definitive list of books to finish by the end of the year now, and it's all very doable. The amount of books that I have here is pretty much just the size of like one monthly TBR. Now granted, I do not tend to read every book of my TBR, but even so, there's absolutely no reason why I should not be able to get these books read in the next like 4.5 months. I think it's very doable. The only problem being is that a lot of these are fantasy. I have a lot of fantasy that needs to come off of my TBR, especially now that I'm not really into it or reading it as much. So I really I'm gonna have to push myself to get these read so that I can just be like firmly in my romance lane. So if you guys like the sound of this video and you would like to see more, then do please feel free to hit that big red subscribe button down below to stay tuned for future content. I upload twice a week on a Wednesday and a Friday, so there is no shortage of bookish content here for you to enjoy. You can also check me out on Instagram and Twitter at Page and Chapter to see if I actually read these and see like when I'm reading them in real time and what I think. Honestly, I don't know why I do these things to myself. I could just let myself chill out for the rest of the year. I've had a very good reading year in terms of enjoyment, and I could just let myself continue on that wavelength, but no, I have to challenge myself and I have to seemingly force myself to read fantasy again. So pray for me. I really hope that you guys enjoy this video and that you want to stick around, and without further ado, let's get into the books that I need to read by the end of the year. So the first book that I need to read by the end of the year is quite an obvious one. It is the wrap up to a trilogy that I have been reading for like a year and a half now, potentially even 2 years, and I just really want to get it done. I'm genuinely excited to see how it wraps up, but also very scared. But I just feel like if I can just read this third book, then that's like a whole fantasy series that is like off my list now and I don't have to worry about it. And so that is The Burning God by R.F. Kuang, the third and final book in the Poppy War trilogy. So I'm sure we all already know what the Poppy War trilogy is about. It is a very famous high fantasy military novel series, and it's very dark, very gruesome, very gory, really does not shy away from the brutality of war and is influenced by the opium wars that took place in China. So it's a very hard-hitting series, and that is why it has taken me so long to read these books. In this case, it's not about enjoyment, because I think I've rated like every single one of these books 4+ stars, and I've always had a really good time reading them. But I find them very daunting, scary books, and I have seen all sorts of reactions to this book, and I'm sure I'm going to cry a lot. I'm sure it's going to absolutely destroy me, but it's just finally time to get this series over and done with now. It's not like I won't enjoy it. It's not like it's going to be a horrendous reading experience, even if some of the events are horrendous. As I said, then I can just put this series to rest. I don't have to have another series that I know 100% I want to finish hanging over my head. It's done, it's dusted, I can relax, and I don't typically read very heavy, daunting fantasy series, so once this is done, maybe I can just shy away from books that are gonna give me anxiety in the future. And so then the next book I want to challenge myself to get read by the end of the year is not going to be much of a challenge. I don't think I will have any problem reading this book, but I needed to put at least one easy one in so I can just pat myself on the back every now and again. I already know that I'll be reading this book in September, so it's nice and easy for me, and that is House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. I adored TJ Klune's other book, Under the Whispering Door, so I have no doubt that I will really enjoy this book. And the reason that I want to read this in September is because not only is it cozy and I feel like it can be quite autumny and back to school-y. I don't know why I'm creating all these weird like phrases at the moment, but this book is kind of set in a boarding school and follows this magical boarding school and follows our main character Linus Baker, who is sent to this boarding school where the Antichrist resides and other high profile, scary, magical children reside, and it is about Linus forming a connection with the headmaster there, who deeply cares for the children, and having to balance his job and his profession and his growing relationship with the headmaster of this school. As I said, I love TJ Klune's writing in the other book. I love the coziness of it. It has been reviewed by V.E. Schwab, who is another author who I absolutely adore. I just think this is going to be a super easy one for me to get through. It's not a particularly big book, and I will be wanting all of the autumny, cozy, back to school feels the minute we hit August. So got this one to look forward to in September. And so then following on from that, we have a V.E. Schwab book. Now I do typically tend to read V.E. Schwab books very, very quickly, but there is one particular series that I am in the middle of that I've been taking my time with, and that's for similar reasons as to the Poppy War, and that is it gives me anxiety, but I very much want to get this like finished. It's time, and that is Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. This is the second book in the Vicious duology. Please tell me it's actually a duology, because I don't think I can take another book. I first read Vicious back in October for round 1 of the Magical Hopathon. I was reading it on a plane to Sicily, and I wanted to read Vicious because I just felt like the cover art was designed for me. It had all these like bones and daggers on it, and this one still has the daggers. I'm a bit of a bone / dagger lady. I did my dissertation on the effects of daggers on bones, so I just felt like the book was made for me. And it's time finally to read Vengeful, which is such a big book, and they're this particular duology is very dark in tone, quite different from some of the other V.E. Schwab that I typically tend to read. Bear in mind I was coming into Vicious from having only read Addie LaRue before, and they're just so very different in tone. But it is very much time to finish this book. I will be going back to uni in September to continue studying bones and daggers. Think anyway. Blunt force trauma has been calling to me a little bit lately. You get the gist. Maybe I'll read this in October when I'm looking to read something darker and spookier and eerier. Like maybe that will be a good time to smash this book out, but in a similar fashion to The Burning God, if I just read this book, then that's another series just off my list. I can chill out. There's a fantasy series that's stressing me out and hanging me over my head because I have the book and I want to read it, but I'm scared of it. If I just read it and get it over with, then we'll be just fine. So Vicious by V.E. Schwab follows our main characters Victor and Eli, and at university they were very close friends. But when they start researching extraordinary humans and the research becomes more practical than theoretical, it drives them apart and they are now enemies. And we follow Victor and Eli in the present day where they're hunting each other down to kill each other, and through flashbacks of their time at university. And the time at university is very dark academia if you are looking for more dark academia books. And it's no surprise that it was the flashbacks and the dark academia that drew me to this book and was what I enjoyed most about it. And so I think I was very nervous going into Vengeful that there wouldn't be those flashbacks, and so maybe I would enjoy the book a lot less. But we'll see what happens. The events of the first book are like burned into my brain. It really took me by surprise. So I am quite excited to go into this book, and the more I'm talking about it, the more I'm hyping myself up for it. So I'm excited to watch this video back to motivate myself to finally read this book. And then again, there very much is a theme to these books. This next one is one that I have been wanting to read for years now, pretty much my entire time in the booktube community. I've been hearing about this book and wanting to read it. Again, it ties in with my master's degree and what I'm studying, and it just should be everything that I want to read in a book. And that is Gideon the Ninth by Tasmin Moyer. If any of you remember the stress and the 10-month hunt that I had to go on to find this book, and then I finally found it, in Manchester of all places. I had absolutely no reason to be in Manchester that day. It was just a random decision to go there, and that was like a while ago now, and I still haven't read it. I've picked it up. I was gonna read this on the train to Paris, but as we can imagine, I wasn't in a very ready mood at that point. But this book is about lesbian necromancers and swordswomen and daggers, and I'm just very excited about it. Have been for a very long time. Have only heard fantastic things about this book, and it is now a series that I'm very behind on. Should I be starting a new series when I know they stress me out? Probably not, but I would just really like to get this book done by the end of the year, and it is so in theme with what I'm going to study that I think it's just about time that I gave myself a proper push to finish this book, regardless of the fact that I'm not in a fantasy mood. Maybe this can get me back into a fantasy mood, because I do miss it a little bit, okay, I won't lie. I'm all about the romance lately, but part of me is still clinging a little bit to fantasy, even though I have not enjoyed reading it lately. So pray for me on this one. This is like a big one to get read, and if I don't like it, I'm gonna be gutted. And then the final two books are part of a series. I have not been making waves with reading of the series like I was supposed to be. A lot of the books in this video are series that I need to get finished by the end of the year so they can just stop stressing me out. And these two books are no different, and that is The Subtle Knife and The Amber Spyglass by Philip Pullman, book 2 and book 3 in the His Dark Materials trilogy. Maybe I will read these as like November, December time as we get like cozier and colder, and I just want to be indoors with a hot chocolate and a good book. So I have read the first book, Northern Lights. I did enjoy it. It didn't absolutely blow me away the way that I kind of thought it would, but I'm trying to remember that I am an adult reading books aimed at children, and I'm still just very intrigued by the rest of the series, and I have the books and they're beautiful, and I want to say that I have read this series. So even though I've not been too motivated to get there at all in this past year, I just feel like I need the push to finally get this series read, and then I can like watch the TV show, and I just want to know what everyone's talking about, and I'm really hoping that I will like it. So do let me know how you found book 2 and book 3, especially as an older reader. I would be really intrigued to know how you found them, or if there's anything I should be wary of or anything like that, because I just really want to like them. I'm upset that I didn't give the first one 5 stars. Maybe I will have to go in and reread that one and do a full binge this winter time. I don't have like a set month that I want to read all of these books in, but I feel like as I'm talking about them, when I want to read them is becoming clearer and clearer. But yes, these are the final books on this end of the year TBR for myself, this end of the year challenge. It's just, again, let's just get the trilogy off my trilogies list. I'm almost glad that I can still read these in the winter time, because I think part of me didn't want to pick them up, because as soon as like Christmas time is over, I lose interest in reading wintry books, and His Dark Materials just seems like a wintry book to me. So I don't know, do with that info what you will. And so here is my end of the year TBR to myself. There is 6 books on this list. 6 books in the next 4 or 5 months should be, in theory, very doable. I just have to really hold myself accountable to this list, not swap things out, just finally get it done, because I think I will be so much more relaxed after some of these books are just off my TBR. Some of these series especially are off my TBR, so do wish me luck. Do hold me accountable when you see any future monthly TBRs. If these books aren't in them, please scream at me in the comment section. I need to get these books read. Message me privately and tell me to read them. I don't care how you do it. Just hold me accountable, please. If you guys really enjoyed this video and you would like to stick around and see more, then do please feel free to hit that big red subscribe button down below. I upload twice a week on a Wednesday and a Friday, so there is no shortage of bookish content here for you to enjoy. I hope you guys are having a fantastic week. You are enjoying everything that you are reading, and there are no reading slumps in your future. And I will see you next week for my next video. Bye guys.